Let's go for it!
Hey everybody, welcome to The Dark Stuff. It's me, your buddy Dave, back here with a new video. Let me take a quick sip of my Dunkin' Donuts. I've determined this is the reason for my weight gain, because I drink this shit like every day, and it's just so fucking awful for you, but it's like crack. I mean, I imagine there's some negative side effects of crack, but it feels so good when you smoke it, right? I mean, yeah, I got a quick update for you today. Picked up a couple of records, and then a client of mine gave me a whole mess of CDs, and I'm just going to show those really quickly because he gave them to me for free. And I'll burn through those, and then I have 3 or 4 new release albums that I would like to talk about because they're all really exceptional, and they're worth noting in this particular case. So let's just go ahead and start with vinyl. So I haven't really been making any trips to any stores. I haven't gone digging hardly at all lately. There's an Omaha record show coming up this Sunday, so I'm going to that. So I imagine that I'll be picking up some new stuff then, because really the stores have been kind of dry, and I haven't really been making the effort to be honest with you. So there might be some good stuff out there. I'm not totally aware of it. But first off, I want to start off with, I picked up this copy of Neil Young Trans. Okay, this is his 1982 album, and to a lot of people, Neil Young Trans is considered like Neil's absolute worst album. I've been a Neil Young fan since I was a kid, okay? I mean, he's never been one of my major artists. I don't collect him. I don't have every record, but I've liked Neil Young pretty much since I was a little kid when I went to summer camp, because I remember my counselor, I was probably like 10 years old when I went to camp. My counselor had all these Neil Young tapes, and we used to listen to him in our bunk, we would listen to Neil Young tapes. And I've always thought he was a really interesting artist. Growing up in the 80s, that was kind of his weird period where he was just jumping from style to style every year. And that was also the period when this came out in 82, but also when he got sued by Geffen Records for sort of intentionally trying to make music that was bad or something, or that was unrepresentative, and he was sued. So when I pick up Neil Young records, which I do frequently, I've always avoided this one because I've heard it's the worst. The only song I was familiar with was Computer Age, and that's because Sonic Youth covers it, and since I'm obsessed with Sonic Youth, I know every song that they've done. I've played Computer Age as the closing song on my radio show probably about 10 times. And Sonic Youth does an amazing version of it. But I was completely ignorant of the original. So I went ahead and got it, and it's known because it incorporates like synthesizer sounds and this tool called a vocoder, which distorts your voice and makes it sound like a computer thing. It's very, very 80s.
It is used to combine the tonal qualities of one sound source, called a carrier, with the frequency-specific movements of a second signal, called a modulator. This allows you to create a computer voice. If
you read into the story behind why Neil Young was doing that at this time, he was doing it from what I understand, he had a son with an extreme form of cerebral palsy, okay, and he couldn't communicate. He would try and communicate, he would make noises and stuff, but there was no real communication going on as far as Neil could tell between him and his son. And so he sort of thought this vocoder concept was sort of the same thing, meaning you're not sure what exactly you're hearing. It's like a different form of communication. And I know that sounds really bizarre.
Fill your hand, I'm sorry, but I'm done. You start calling me a foreign agent. Those are fucking fight words, excuse me.
But that was Neil Young's thought process. He wanted to make an album that kind of represented this feeling of having problem communicating. But he really does have songs under there, and there's lyrics and all this kind of stuff. And there's also a song on here, the second song on side 1 doesn't exist. Okay, it's called If You've Got Love. It's listed right there. It's not on the record at all. Period. Nothing. It's listed on here, but it's not on the album, so that's kind of strange. He re-records his own song, Mr. Soul, which was, I think that's Buffalo Springfield, perhaps, from the late 60s when he was in that band. So how is the album? I mean, look, it's not one of Neil Young's best albums, but it's also not really that bad, you know? I mean, when you get past it, he doesn't use the vocoder on every track. There are some of these songs that sound just like standard kind of Neil Young tunes from the 80s. But when he does, even, you just kind of get past it. It's just a different form of music. It's still the same kind of phrasing that Neil Young uses. It's still the same, you know, it still sounds like Neil Young, even though he's using this sort of different thing to mask what his voice sounds like. So, yeah, if you're thinking about starting to collect Neil Young, I would definitely not start with Trans. But if you're like me and you'd kind of been avoiding it for this whole time because all you heard was that it was just total shit. I mean, I heard that about Reactor too, and I bought Reactor, and then I really liked it. So I heard that about this, and I moderately like it, you know? I mean, it was worth picking up is what I'd say. I also picked up this record from the DBs called Like This. This is their third album from 1984. And I have their first album, Sounds Like Decibels. It's considered a college rock classic. But this is the band after Chris Stamey left. He was one of the founding members, and him and this guy, Peter Holzapfel, were the two primary singer-songwriters in the band. So this is when it goes full Holzapfel. And I gotta say, I felt this was a very boring album. Very generic, 1984 sounding college rock. Nothing inventive, you know. These guys were connected because of Chris Stamey and Peter Holzapfel have worked with REM. Well, REM is outstanding, and these guys are just average, and you can see why REM is one of the most legendary bands in the world and why the DBs are sort of an asterisk. Their first album was very good. I never heard the second one, but this one, and then I imagine future ones, because Stamey never came back and the band just became led by Peter Holzapfel, were also kind of boring. But I can't say that. I'm just saying this one just didn't do it for me.
And she became so calm. That's how it goes.
Okay, I got this Autolux Picture 7-inch. It came out probably 2012 or so. It's pretty cool, though. There's the artwork, and there's the back, and it came with some art postcards and stuff. Let me see here. So there's one, there's two. It's the other picture, and a download card, which I doubt is going to be any good because this was used, and the person who originally had the record probably use the download, although we're going to hope that it didn't, because I'd love to get copies of it. I love Autolux. I don't really collect them. I have their 3 albums, and that's all I've got. So I picked up that. It's got 2 songs from the album Transit, so nothing on the rare front, but still pretty cool anyways. All right, now I want to break into some new releases. These are all on CD because of the fact that I get them for my radio show, by the way, for new subscribers. I am on the radio every Sunday afternoon from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. I'm on a radio station in Omaha that's 89.7 FM, but it does stream live at 897theriver.com. So if you ever want to hear me, you got to determine your own time zone. I'm not going to be able to do that for you, but it's 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's called New Day Rising, by the way. I got the new album from Guided by Voices. It's called Space Gun, okay? And I'm a longtime Guided by Voices fan. They are one of my favorites. My fandom goes all the way back to probably 92 or 93 when I first heard them.
At quest for new triumphs, we are the champs, with endless revisions and typewriter.
And I've liked them pretty consistently throughout their career. I liked them better when they were sort of the, quote, classic lineup, regardless of who was actually on the records. I felt like from a live experience, I liked seeing those guys. And towards the late 90s, my interest trailed off a little bit and into the early 2000s when Robert Pollard, the band leader, had GBV 2.0. He broke up the band. He got the band back together. He went with the classic lineup for a couple years. They made 3 albums, I believe. They did a bunch of tours. I saw them. They were great. Now that you dump those guys, he sort of has the GBV 2.0, but he's also got a little bit of the 3.0 because for a brief period of time, he had another version of the band with all new guys. And so it would be GBV 3.0. I had a video that I did a couple years ago that got the most level of internet hate I've ever gotten, which was me criticizing a Guided by Voices show because they were playing too much stuff that I didn't know and too much non-GBV stuff. And I got a lot of shit from people online telling me that I'm stupid, that I should have known better, that it's my responsibility to have all 105 Robert Pollard albums to enjoy a concert. I didn't think that was the case. Anyways, I've moved on. Well, maybe I'm a little bitter about that one still, but whatever. So I haven't liked the last couple of Guided by Voices records. I'll just be candid with you, especially Please Be Honest. And I'll be honest here. The problem with that album is musically it sucks because Robert Pollard played all the instruments. The guy may be a songwriting genius, but he's certainly not an instrumental genius or a virtuoso on any instrument whatsoever. And the problem is really the drums. It's just very mediocre. So it drags the whole album and makes it very samey sounding, and I didn't like it. So Pollard has a habit of making albums without the people he's actually in the band with, and I didn't know if that was going to be the case here on Space Gun. So I popped it on, knowing I didn't really dig the last couple of Guided by Voices records, and I was so pleasantly surprised. This album is great, start to finish. It is performed with the band he's currently touring with, I believe, as far as that goes. And there's just some life in the performances. The songs are good. There's some of Pollard's best tunes that he's done in a couple years. I really liked, Space Gun, the title track, See My Field, Blink Blank, Sport Component National is great. That's good. Flight Advantage. I mean, there's just a lot of really good stuff on here. There's more of the anthemic stuff from like the B1000 area where they just have these just choruses that make you want to pump your fist, and then just great verses. It's diversity of material again. So I'm back in the GBV fold with this new one with Space Gun. So it's solid all the way. Okay, another classic band back with a new album is The Breeders, and their newest one is called All Nerve. You know, The Breeders being Kim Deal, formerly of the Pixies. She's back with the lineup of the version of the band that made their most successful album, Last Splash, in 1993. The one with Cannonball. It was a platinum record. It made everyone in the mainstream know who The Breeders are, but The Breeders never really followed up with another album in that version of the band. The last Breeders album was about 10 years ago. Kim Deal has kept the mantle going with the band, but it's largely been her and a bunch of different people. In this record, she got back her twin sister Kelly, who's probably been there for a long time, Josephine Wiggs, and the drummer, whose name I'll put on the screen because I'm drawing a blank on it. McPherson, I think, is his Jim McPherson. Anyways, whatever. Point is, it's that version of the band. Now, is it as good an album and as cohesive as Last Splash? No, but it's not 1993, so it's a different kind of record. It fits more with what Kim Deal is now. She's in her 50s. She's been making music now for 30 plus years. She's got her shtick. You know, she has her sort of disjointed kind of phrasing and the way she does the music. But, you know, Kim's stuff is in a way, like Black Francis or Frank Black from the Pixies, you're never 100% certain what she's talking about because she uses a lot of metaphor and stuff, and it's oftentimes you find out that she's singing about a car, but it's not really about a car, you know. And that's the case going on with this one. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about the lyrics. I just sort of want to listen to the overall vibe. I mean, my favorite Kim Deal post-Pixies stuff that she's done was her album with the Amps. I loved that record, okay? And I would love if she just reverted back to that. I love Title TK. I like all the Breeders albums because I like Kim Deal's voice, and I like the way she writes, and I like the way she sings. As far as, is this a great Breeders record? Yeah, I would say it's better than the last one, Mountain Battles. It's better than... it's tough to say if it's better than Title TK, but maybe it is a slightly more cohesive. It's not better than The Pod. That's their debut. That's still the best one. Last Splash, hard to say. That album is so classic. But in terms of what else is coming out in 2018, you know, is this going to appeal to teenagers and young kids today, or kids who are getting into the newer sort of indie music? Probably not. But most of my viewers, based on the discussion of analytics, you guys are all older guys in your 30s and 40s anyway, so I would say probably go ahead and pick this one up. If you've ever sort of thought you like the Breeders, this is maybe one to dip your toe back into it. I wouldn't go into Title TK or Mountain Battles or any of those, because I just don't know what you're going to think on those. But this one is definitely a step up from those two, personally.
I'm used to it, and you'll pick up 'cause you're not a quitter. You've got addictions too, it's true.
Okay, this is a new one from a singer-songwriter named Lucy Dacus. And I apparently had her debut album. When I imported this into my iTunes, I already had a Lucy Dacus album, a different one. So I apparently didn't give that one much of a listen. I did listen to this one and I liked it. She's got a powerful voice. I mean, really, really good. It's very sort of like smart. She seems like she's a very smart person. And I've been playing the song Addictions on my radio show, and I really like it. She's coming to town on April 2nd. It's really good, sort of moody female singer-songwriter stuff. She doesn't play a guitar, but or maybe she does, I don't know. I'm not seeing her performing with a guitar up there on the stage. I'm more seeing her singing or playing a piano or something for some reason. And I base that on nothing. Nothing, literally nothing. The only picture I've ever seen of her is this from the album. So I don't know what else she does. But it is strong songs, a very, very good songwriting, a great singer, and somebody worth checking out. Lucy Dacus.
Find me again. I am not my body, I'm somebody.
Okay, and the last new band I'm going to talk about here is this band Dreamwife. It's an all-female band from the UK, and they got a description that was sort of like The Strokes meets Bikini Kill, which sounded super cool because I like The Strokes and Bikini Kill, so I thought that sounded really good. I'm already prone to like all-female kind of punkish bands. I mean, that's sort of what I grew up in the 90s. It was a big part of my musical taste then. It still kind of is now. Now, the first song that came on is called Let's Make Out on the album. And it was just like a screamer, and these girls just like, let's make out, blah, blah, you know. And I was like, I don't know. It's a little amateurish. I don't know if I still like this kind of stuff. Then it moved into the next song, Somebody. That song grabbed me, okay? It was great lyrics, very feminist. You know, she's saying something like, you know, she doesn't want to be judged by, I'm not somebody, I'm somebody, okay? So don't just look at me for my appearance. I'm actually a person. I'm somebody. So I thought that was a good, catchy way to get the line across. And so it is sort of, you know, modern feminist punk rock. And there are tunes that aren't so aggro and aggressive. They can be more musical and more pop-oriented. You're not going to confuse them with Bikini Kill or Babes in Toyland. They are more musical than that. But it did take a couple of listens, and then I ended up really digging it. So Dreamwife, okay? Okay, and the last thing, I'm just going to burn through some CDs I got. Basically, I had this client of mine who when I first went into his house to look it over, I saw his stereo system. Sick setup. My God, probably like a $5,000 amplifier and a turntable that cost thousands of dollars. And I didn't get names or anything. I didn't want to take notes about it. That would be weird. But we did get to talking, and he's a big vinyl guy and stuff. And, you know, and that's an interest that we both share. We kind of bonded over that. I sold his house in one day, by the way, and he is doing what a lot of people were doing in the early 90s when the CD wave first was coming in, and they were junking all their vinyl and then re-getting everything on CD. He's doing the reverse. He's getting rid of all his CDs. He wants nothing to do with them in this new place, and he's replacing it with a lot of new LPs. So he had this gigantic box of CDs and was like, if you want any of these, just take whatever you want. So a lot of them were various artists, but I'll show you what I grabbed. So I got this U2, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. U2 Pop. The Thorns, which features Matthew Sweet, so I grabbed that. EMF, Schubert Dip. This is the one with Unbelievable. Soundtrack to Reality Bites. Because, man, I used to love Winona Ryder so much. Oh, my God. Soundtrack to Wayne's World. DGC Rarities, which has some unreleased stuff from Beck, Nirvana, Weezer, Hole. And then these are all Sire Records compilations. This is Just Say Row. This is Just Say Da. And this is Just Say Yo. And these were series that Sire Records used to do in the late 80s, early 90s, where they would take unreleased tracks by all of their artists, and they had the best label in the late 80s, and would compile them on there with rarities. So it's, you know, it's a lot of, in this period, it was Morrissey, Ministry, Ice-T, Madonna, John Wesley Harding, Primal Scream, groups like that. 2-disc set, The Island Story, which tells the history of Island Records from 62 to 87 when this came out. It's in the old double disc format, so you know it's old. Yeah, but, you know, it's got a lot of shit I don't care about, but it does have, you know, Spencer Davis Group, Black Uhuru, Bob Marley, let's see here, Sly and Robbie, Fairport Convention, Tom Waits, so number of different artists. Has Julian Cope, World Shut Your Mouth, so now I actually have a copy of that particular song. And then the last two things were things I already had, but I grabbed anyways. I picked up he had Sugar, File Under Easy Listening on CD, which I actually had on vinyl and I've had since it came out, but I never had it on CD, so for free I grabbed it. And then I wasn't sure I had this. This is called Kiss My Ass. It's a covers tribute to Kiss. And I knew I had it on vinyl, but I didn't think I had it on CD. And so I wanted it digitally. That turns out I did have it on CD. So anyways, if anyone wants this, I'm willing to trade it or give it away or whatever. It's got Lenny Kravitz, Garth Brooks, Anthrax, Gin Blossoms, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Dinosaur Jr., Extreme, Lemonheads, Mighty Mighty Bosstones, all doing Kiss covers. So anyone's interested, send me a message. Maybe we can work out some type of trade. It's not worth much, honestly, but I'm willing to let you have it. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I got a record show coming up, and we got a couple of live concerts I'm going to be going to. So I'll have content for videos coming shortly. Thanks a lot for checking in, everybody. We'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.